And we are live, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Unc and my aunt. Come on in, come on in, come on in. And welcome to the Shrine of Ma'at, Kemetic Ascension. Today is Sunday, July 31st. And as you can see, we have all of our priests and priestesses on today as well. Jabari and Anika are out for this weekend. They are headed to Kemet, so we want to send traveling mercies. As everyone comes into the room, come on in, come on in. We are so grateful that you guys are here with us today. We got a special word today as well that we will all enjoy. Our brother, before we start anything and we get into our ascension, we always like to lead off with the opening of the way. I forgot to introduce myself. I am host, Mar Milton. And today we're going to have Brother Waziri Vernon Wells lead us off with the opening of the way today.
Thank you very much. So we shall rise as we get ready to get into our position of adoration. Left foot forward, left hand forward, right hand slightly back. And as we take our breath of life and quote the sound of life. Netrak in Bahet. Netrak in Bahet. Netrak Hapi.
Netrak Hapi.
Tuwau Tor.
Tuwau Tor.
Netrak Circuit.
Netrak Circuit.
Nuke Circuit.
Nuke Circuit.
Netrak Kepsanuf.
Netrak Kepsanuf.
Kepsanuf. Tuwau and Tor.
Tuwau and Tor.
Netrak As.
Netrak
As. Netrak Amset. Nuke Amset. Tuwau and Tor. Netrak Neat. Nuke Neat. Netrak Duamutef. Nuke Duamutef. Tuwau and Tor. Netrak Newt. Newt. Netrak Geb. Newt. Geb. Tuwau and Tor. Netrak Shoe. Newt. Netrak Tefnut. Nuke Tefnut. Tuwau and Tor. Netrak Paut in
Neteru.
Nuke Paut in Teru. Netrak Nuke and Boo in Teru. Tuwau and Tor. Out into
and we do the opening of the way, family, whenever you're about to engage your day-to-day lives or you're about to engage in any activities, the opening of the way is something that you do to invoke the divine energies that are around you, within you, and at your disposal at any given time. You are the universe, and the universe is you. So the more we practice this ideology and start to adapt it into our everyday lives, the easier things, I won't say easier, but the more aware we will become of who we are and what our true power is as we move about. So we're going to get into pull up here. My mic and everything is good. Okay, cool. All right. So today we're going to have a word. Before we do that, we're probably going to get into the Hesi, right? From Abut Mahert. Going to be leading us today.
Yes. To our
Uncle
intern.
Mayat.
Uncle Ma'at family. Uncle Ma'at in the house. I'm in the house calling in from Harlem, USA. To our intern, you know that's where the Shrine of Ma'at is. And I am also there. But I am everywhere because, you know, we are divine. So we can cover all spaces at all times. There is no such thing as space or time because we are cosmic. So I want to give that little bit before I begin. The Hesi that I have chosen is the Webony in Heru Hesi. Webony in Heru, and it was written by our illustrious Abu Washeret and myself. And Webony is to rise in Heru, as that falcon, as that sun, as that ever-ending eternal life force that we are. So we chant and we invoke and we affirm as we chant this Webony in Heru. And then once we get there, we're going to live in Ma'at. We're going to Ankh in Ma'at. Okay, so I'm doing this a cappella. It's all good because you guys, I'm really not, because you guys are going to be chanting wherever you are, in your seats, in your car, okay, on the beach, in the park. I am not entertained, and I want you to know that. I want you, just as we do the opening of the way, we do the Hesi, we do this so we can invoke the energies that are all around us and within us so that we can be who we are, be more of who we are, because we already are who we are. Ashe, so I will intern. Ashe, so I'm going to begin. Ashe. Webony in Heru, a Webony in Heru, a Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. That's right, come on. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. We double it up. Webony
in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Weaponry in Haru. 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 In my eye.
in my eye.
In my eye. In my eye. In my eye. In my eye. In my eye. In my eye.
in my eye. In my eye. We gotta live in my eye. I live in my eye. I walk in my eye. I talk in my eye. 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 In my eye.
Hey, definitely get some energy over there to Abu Mahert. Thank you. Dua.
My spirit is all up in the house.
Listen, you always like that, and it's amazing. You know, it's great to have people like that around you. You know, you have to embody the spirit of Ma'at in all that you do, and especially when we're doing, you know, the Hesi. The Hesi is important to do because you want it in your spirit. You know, you ever just walking along, you have a song that just pops up in your head or pops up in your heart for no reason. That's coming out of your soul. You know, you always gotta remember that. If you have a couple of those in your heart, it's good for you to walk around with. You know, it keeps you grounded. And it gets you prepared for the day. So next, what we're also going to do, we're going to have a word of Sebai from Abu Mahert, also from Kepara and Wasiri next. So let's have them come on up. Who wants to start?
Twanter. We're not going to have it in that order.
Yeah, I figured so. That's why I said who.
It's all good. Twanter. We are going to let our Heru brother.
All right.
Kepara.
Yes. Agamad, everyone. Agamad. I want to say Agamad to all of our viewers. I hope and pray that you and your families are in good spirits and good health. I say unto all, Uncle Jasaneb, life, strength, and health to you. I'm not going to hold you long for today's Sabai. I'm Abu Kepra, and I'm here with some of the Wenwet of the Shrine of Ma'at, and we decided to briefly look at Ma'at and to offer ways to incorporate Ma'at into your life on a daily basis. You know, this is largely in response to a few new initiates inquiring about ways to make Ma'at more practical in their daily lives. And for those of you who are new to Kemetic Ascension, the Sebai, they refer to the wisdom literature and moral teachings of Kemet, ancient Egypt. One of the first things that our ancestors of the Hapi or Nile Valley region wrote about were directions on how to lead a moral life, directions and instructions on how one could lead a life in Ma'at. Therefore, right off the bat, the first practical thing that I recommend you do to make Ma'at more practical in your daily life is study the Sebaid on a daily basis. If you're not able to do it on a daily basis, at least do it on a weekly basis. When we study ancient African history, we discover that Kemet, during her glory, lasted some 3,000 plus years. These 3,000 years refer to dynastic Kemet from, we will say, dynasties 1 to 31. Some historians, you might see, they might put dynastic Kemet as dynasties 1 to 32. Well, my point is that Kemetian civilization was characterized by stability and longevity for some 3,000 years. A major contributing factor to the longevity of Kemetian civilization was the practice of Ma'at. According to many historians, the oldest book in the world is the book of Ptah-hotep. And if you're able to do so, I recommend that you purchase the teachings of Ptah-hotep, the oldest book in the world. And this particular translation of the book of Ptah-hotep is by the ancestor Asa G. Hilliard III, Larry Williams, and Nia Damali. The book of Ptah-hotep should be in your library. The book of Ptah-hotep is a major book of the Sebai. The messages conveyed by Ptah-hotep are timeless. His messages on how to develop leaders and leadership qualities are must reading. Listen to these words of Ptah-hotep. If you are a leader, a man or woman who leads, a man or woman who commands and controls the affairs of many, strive for excellence in all you do so that no fault can be found in your character. For Ma'at, the way of truth, justice, and righteousness is great. Its value is lasting, and it has remained unequaled and unchanged since the time of its creator. It lies as a plain path before even the ignorant, and those who violate its laws are punished or dealt with by Neter. Although wickedness or Isfet may gain wealth, wrongdoing has never brought its wares to a safe port. In the end, it is Ma'at, the way of truth, justice, and righteousness that endures and enables the upright to say, "This is the legacy of my father and mother." I want to say parents, teachers, etc., expose the youth and teenagers that you teach to the instructions of Ptah Hotep so that they can grow up to be good and strong leaders of tomorrow. You know, we're always talking about posterity. That's the future. Our children are our future. So what we put in our children as parents and elders is so important. So put Ma'at in their minds. Also under the Seba'it, we have the Nebang text. And if you are doing research, you would look for the Coffin text. In addition to the Nebang text, we have the Merku text, or so-called pyramid text, which comprise some 228 Hekau words of power, or incantations that are found in the Merku, or pyramid of the last king of the 5th dynasty, King Unas. And last but not least, we have the Re'u Empertem Heru Enger, the so-called Egyptian Book of the Dead. The proper name of this book is actually the, as I just mentioned, the Re'u Empertem Heru Enker, the book of coming forth today from night. This book is also referred to as the Book of the Great Awakening. This awakening is an awakening to your divine nature. Study the Re'u Empertem Heru and you discover that you are created from the limbs of divinity, from the limbs of Neter, the divine mother and father of creation. As practitioners of Ma'at, we acknowledge and call on Neter as the divine mother and divine father of creation. Therefore, this is the second way to practically add Ma'at to your life. The divine mother and the divine father go hand in hand with each other. They complement each other. This is Ma'at. We honor our divine mother and father of creation. I want to give you an assignment. I want you to take some time to read through the Re'u Empertem Heru and find where it says that you are created from the limbs of divinity. Many of us, many of you who have been brought up in traditions that teach that you were born in sin. However, our Kemetic ancestors did not subscribe to this notion. Our ancestors taught that the fundamental nature of man and woman is divinity. The fundamental premise of Kemetic spirituality is that you are divine. You know, that's the fundamental premise, and we have to remember that. The overarching message of the moral teachings of the Seba'it is to live a life of Ma'at. To live a life of Ma'at calls for personal responsibility and accountability on the part of each one of us. Accountability to Neter, accountability to ourselves and our families, accountability to our communities. There are no shortcuts. No one can do your spiritual work for you. The Abut or priestess, the Abu or priest cannot do your work for you. The Abut or Abu can offer counsel, guidance, and advice as far as things that you can do to become the highest divine version of yourself. Ultimately, your life, your Ankh is in your hands. The path of Ma'at requires us to be self-reliant as we attend to our spiritual practices, and it also requires that we work together as a community to improve our communities. So, you know, we have this balance where we're doing our spiritual work, but we also have to have collective work and responsibility. And this is something that Baba Malana Karinga talks about, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. You know, we do our spiritual work on our own, but we also have to work in conjunction with the community. The Book of Keddie says to us, and I will be reading from the Book of Keddie as translated by Dr. Karinga in the Husia. And I want to say too, the Husia is another wonderful book that you can add to your collection. Have that in your library. A major part of the Sebaid, that work by Dr. Karinga. But Keddie says, follow in the footsteps of your ancestors, for the mind is trained through knowledge. Behold, their words endure in books. Open and read them and follow their wise counsel. For one who is taught becomes skilled. To become skilled in Ma'at, in addition to study of the Sebaid, we also study the 42 oracles or laws of Ma'at. In other words, we Sankofa or Saruj Ma'at. We look back to the past to see what we can learn from our ancestral legacy. You know, in other words, we go back and fetch it. We look to the past to see what we can discover or uncover from our traditional cultures and systems prior to the arrival of foreigners and invaders. In referring to the necessity and relevance of studying the past, Dr. Sheikh Ancha Job says, intellectuals ought to study the past, not for the pleasure they find in so doing, but to derive lessons from it. So in other words, we learn from the successes and the missteps that we made in the past. Our successes and missteps provide us with direction on how we are to navigate the futures of people. Therefore, a third practical way for us to practically add Ma'at into our life is to Sankofa or Saruj Ma'at. And Saruj Ma'at refers to the restoration of Ma'at in our lives and in our communities through the adaptation of traditional African values to our contemporary times. In case in point, just what I mentioned to you, the practice of Ma'at. The way of Ma'at predates Judaism, Christianity, and Islam by a few thousand years. My point is that as folk of African ascent, you have a rich ancient well to draw from. Honor the ways of your mother and father so that your days may be longer. Through the way of Ma'at, we can restore balance to our lives and communities. This is a project that takes work, however, we can get it done through the assistance of Neter and our ancestors. Living in Ma'at is not a religion. More appropriately, it is a way of life. It is a lifestyle that we adhere to. It is a way of living, a way of Ankh, a way of being, and awakening to a higher consciousness. You know, as I mentioned a little earlier, to be a practitioner of Ma'at calls for responsibility on the part of each one of us. It calls for spiritual work and spiritual practice on the part of all of us in this community who say we are practitioners of Ma'at. We have to stay vigilant each and every day that Neter, the Divine Mother, Father of creation, grants us to live. We have to do self-analysis and introspection and ask ourselves, key question as a practitioner of Ma'at, am I living in Ma'at? Am I living the 42 laws or oracles of Ma'at? If you have not already done so, pick up the 42 laws of Ma'at and place a copy on your altar or hang a copy on your wall and read from it every day. I want to say that again, read from it every day. There are a variety of versions of the 42 laws you can choose from. A lot of folk use the 42 new ethical covenants of Ma'at as translated by Baba Haru, Ankh Rasamase Patah, the presiding elder of the Shrine of Patah and Studio of Patah. Find a version of the 42 laws of Ma'at that resonates with your soul. As you begin your day, read through as many of the 42 laws as you can. If you only have time to read one of the laws, such as I will not speak evil, then do so. At the end of the day, when you do self-analysis and introspection, if you were successful in not speaking evil, you can say, I did not speak evil. However, if you were not successful and spoke evil, then you know this is something that you need to work on and correct in the future. Allow this process of studying and practicing the 42 laws or oracles of Ma'at to become a part of your spiritual practice. Allow it to become a part of your daily practice. And practice is so important. I can't stress that enough. When we look back in Kemet, we discover that the Kemetic Abut and Abu engaged in a variety of rituals. You know, we had coronation rituals, we had planting rituals, we had harvesting rituals. And we had rituals to mark the opening of a new building or temple, just to name a few. Let me give you an example of something. Even before going to war or battle, your Kemetian ancestors engaged in ritual. Listen to Pianki or PA's instructions to his troops. When you arrive at Thebes before Karnak, which we saw as Waset, the seat of power, you shall enter the water to bathe and purify yourself. You shall dress yourself in fine clothing, unstring your bows, and set aside your arrows. Let no overlord or ruler boast of being mighty, for there is no strength for the mighty without Amin-Ra. He makes the weak-armed into the strong-armed, so that the multitudes flee from the feeble, and one alone takes 1,000 captive. Anoint yourselves then with the waters of his altars, and bow down to the earth before him, and say, make for us a way that we might fight in the shadow of your sword. For when the young men you have sent forth launch their attack, the multitudes flee from them. The Kemetic priestess and priest and the king or queen of Kemet, as a representative of Neter on earth, were ritualists par excellence. In fact, just a little over a week ago, some of us from the Shrine of Ma'at took part in a Wep Renput ritual ceremony hosted by the Temple of Anu under the leadership of Hemneter Nesut Biti Rasanku Keper, and his beloved queen Hemet Neter Mbara. It was a very beautiful ritual on the mountains of Orange, New Jersey. And as we celebrated the beginning of the Kemetic New Year, Wep Renput, very beautiful. And if you're able to do so next year, make it a priority to attend Wep Renput. Wep Renput was a major ritual celebrated by your ancestors in Kemet, marking the beginning of the new year. Very powerful. You know, one of the things that we do, as I said, we follow in the footsteps of our ancestors. So we're trying to restore Ma'at. Not trying, we are restoring Ma'at, Saruj and Ma'at. So many of the practices that we did in the past, we are doing our best that we can in these contemporary times to establish certain ritual that we did. And that was one of the rituals that we did. And I have to give, you know, a shout out to Baba Haru, because with the studio of Ptah, Wep Renput was one of the ceremonies that we did on a regular, you know, but the elder's very busy now working in the studio of Ptah and the Shrine of Ptah. And now here, the Temple of Anu, following in the footsteps of the Shrine of Ptah, has picked up the baton from the Shrine of Ptah and has been hosting Wep Renput the past few years. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we did. Through song, dance, Hekau, and Hesi, we honored Asan, Aset, and a few other Neteru. And this is all I'm going to tell you about the Wep Renput ceremony, because I want to stress to you to make it a priority to get to that ceremony next year if you can. In addition to ritual and ceremony being conducted by the Temple of Anu, you have ritual and public ceremony being conducted by the Shrine of Ma'at under the direction of Hemneter Heru Dejedin Ma'at Atin Ra and Hemet Neter Nefaka Ma'at. My point is that a fourth way to make Ma'at practical in your life is through participating in public ceremony and ritual, you know, at different Kemetic temples or shrines. And these are just 4 ways that you can practically incorporate Ma'at into your life. And that list is not exhaustive, what I offer to you, know, just some things that I have thought about that you can do to make Ma'at more practical. And now I want to briefly look at Ma'at. Ma'at is often defined as truth, balance, order, justice, righteousness, or rightness and propriety, reciprocity, and harmony. These 7 are often referred to as the 7 virtues of Ma'at. And I want to take a quick look at these virtues. And I want to say at the outset that my definition of these virtues is not exhaustive in any way. What I will recommend is that moving forward, you pick up a journal and write in your journal what these virtues of Ma'at mean to you and see how they speak to you in your life, you know, as you live your life in Ma'at, as you live as a practitioner of Ma'at. And I'm going to go through them quickly. As I said, truth. For me, truth means to lead a truthful and honest life. To practice what you teach, to practice what you preach. Our thoughts, words, and actions must be in Ma'at. Not a dogmatic truth where we say that our way is the only way. No, no, no. Such thinking leads to an arrogance and a false sense of, in quote, superiority among its adherents. Study history and look at the desecration wrought against indigenous African people and their culture when they were deemed as pagans, heathen, infidels in need of being converted, and therefore the arrival of the religious missionary, the arrival of the Christian missionary. For some insight on the destruction that was directed against Africa, take a look at the destruction of Black civilization by Chancellor Williams for a start. Dogmatic truth led to the enslavement of millions of African people. Study history. The physical chains are gone. However, some of us still have chains on our minds. Some of us are intellectually imprisoned in anti-African thought and behavior. Marley sang, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." So we got to free our minds, African. We, as I said, we Sankofa, we Saruj Ma'at, and we restore Ma'at, following in the footsteps of our ancestors. Number 2, balance. On a personal level, we lead a balanced life. Have balance in all that you do. Moderation is a key word of Ma'at. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. We take the middle ground, serve Neter, the divine mother, father of creation. Do these things that bring balance to your body, mind, and spirit. Put good things into your body and mind. Have a balanced diet, stay hydrated, drink your water, exercise, get enough sleep, work, relax, and play. Yes, play. All work and no play can make one dull and gray. Cry from time to time and let go of pain and anger. Certainly there are times when we must be angry, but don't allow the anger to consume you. Release anger. If you hold on to it for too long, it can do damage to your heart. Release those things that do not serve you well. Release those things that are not in your best interest. Release those things. Release negative habits. Release yourself from negative people. Release yourself from negative thinking. I love this quote by Les Brown, a motivational speaker. He says, "Let go and grow." These are simple but powerful words. Let go of those things that do not serve you well. To keep your balance, do your spiritual practices, such as, and to me, this is so important to have a firm spiritual practice in your life. Do your meditation, your Hesi, Kemetic yoga, Hatha yoga, breath work, pranayama, altar work, and mindfulness, just to name a few. Do some of these practices or any positive things that center you in your divinity. Do your spiritual practices and remove that veil of ignorance and reclaim your inherent divinity. Allow your divinity to shine forth brightly and to touch the hearts and minds of those that come into your life. Laugh, enjoy some comedy from time to time. Yes, life is serious, but find some time to laugh and experience joy. Allow your heart to be as light as a feather. Some folk hold on to past hurts, angers, and wrongs, and they weigh themselves down energetically, closing down their heart aritu, a chakra, the heart arit. Let go of those things, those past angers, let go of the hurts, because they'll weigh down and close your heart up energetically. Keep your heart open. Our ancestors always said, let that heart be as light as a feather. And I listen to Aboot Maher when she does the Hesi, just relinquishing those things that weigh you down. Give them up. Just give them up. Order. Have order in your life. One way to have order in your life is to properly manage your time. To reach your goals and to fulfill your purpose and dreams in life, you must have proper time management. Order your steps and your time. Ptahhotep says, be diligent as long as you live, always doing more than is asked of you. Do not misuse your time while following your heart. And I say to you, have a plan of action. Write down your plans, your goals, and those things that you want to accomplish in the future. Maybe have a 1 to 2 year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan, etc. Number 4, justice. Be just in all of your dealings with people. Be fair. Ptahhotep says, if you a judge or one chosen to maintain order among people, handle matters with a strict sense of justice. Do not lean to one side or the other. Be mindful that no one complains that you are unfair. Number 5, rightness or righteousness. Do things in a righteous way. For example, don't steal, don't take what is not yours. This doesn't just refer to physical things, it also refers to intellectual property. Don't plagiarize anyone's thoughts, ideas, or artistic creations. Always acknowledge a person's contributions in creation. To do so is to live in ma'at. And there are two more virtues. Reciprocity, number 6. Life is about giving and receiving. Give some, receive some. Healthy relationships are based on this dynamic of reciprocity. In other words, the interaction should be mutually beneficial for all involved. Some folk are only interested in taking and not giving anything back in return. Therefore, be mindful of the types of relationships that you form in your life. And number 7, harmony. Learn to work in harmony with folk of African descent. Remember, everyone does not have to subscribe to your beliefs. We should be able to amicably disagree, yet still work together for the betterment of our communities and people, even if we subscribe to different ideologies. So this is a brief look at the 7 virtues of ma'at. And the last thing I want to say is that as you begin your day, set your intention to live in ma'at. And let me give you an example of what I mean. After I do the opening of the way, my prayers, my hesi, and meditation, I will sometimes say, and you don't have to do this is just an example. I say, Divine Mother Ma'at, Mut Ma'at, and Mut means mother. May I live your 42 in my thoughts, my words, and deeds. I offer all of this to you, Ankh and Ma'at. Each and every day, have a clear resolve and determination to live your life in Ma'at. Make a daily affirmation to live in Ma'at. And at the end of your day, just before you prepare to go to sleep, engage in self-analysis and introspection to see how you are doing in living your life in Ma'at. As I mentioned to you earlier, get a journal to keep track of your spiritual practices and spiritual progress. Be patient with yourself as you endeavor to live in Ma'at. Remember that the establishment of Ma'at in your life is a gradual process that takes time. In the vast majority of cases, our spiritual unfolding and evolution does not take place overnight. In fact, our spiritual unfolding and evolution and the development of spiritual maturity may occur over lifetimes. However long it takes, we want to make the most of our lives and the gift of time that Neter has given us. Stay consistent in your spiritual practice. And I'm saying to you in closing, know your divine self and be free. So those are some of the things that I offer to you in terms of practical ways to live in Ma'at. And now I want to open up the floor to the Winwet, because they've been sitting there so patiently, you know, to see if they want to offer a few recommendations on how you can incorporate Ma'at into your daily life.
First, you know what? I want to make some noise. Because, you know, we are not a solemn lot and energy and words. When words goes out like that, I want to say, never. Receive, landed, touch, inspire, all of that. Truly.
And as we
honored to
let us for peace. I am Abu Ames, one of the elders and a member of the Shrine of Ma'at. And we're going to go back to what started this conversation was, how can I bring this daily practice into my life? And as anyone knows me, I'm joyous, I'm out there, I do a lot. And so I'm going to give you a little suggestion, and you might grab a pen and paper or something like that to understand. I broke things down because I said, how do you go about this Kemetic legacy on a daily basis in doing this? And then some of my fellow Winwet know that I have a favorite term I use, me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. And I'm going to show you how they represent in the Kemetic legacy of what I'm talking about. And anyone who was in my Habakkuk group, I used to tell them, you go through this like a toddler. Me is that infancy, that one that's learning, adapting, is testing things out, and that's your infancy self. And it can easily be hurt. Usually when you reflect on something, you like, leave me alone, right? You like, like me. That's how, that's that one that is all there. Myself is the Haru personality. Haru is the one that has taken life's, in doing this life's journey, it is trying to honor thy mother and father and go through the daily things, the daily process of analyzing what you're doing through the day, what you have experienced. It's the warrior. Remember that Haru, when he battled Set, did not always do everything right. You understand? So then being Haru does not mean perfect. It was not. When our divine ancestors, when we'll get to it, is I. So the things that you can cultivate with myself, I cultivate certain things so I can present to the world a certain aspect that I saw, that noble thing. And so as you want to go through this life and you say that, another thing is, look at the 42 laws. The first thing it says in the 42 laws of Amat is, I will do no wrong. Well, that's an open-ended statement, because if you read the other 41 laws, they all mean something wrong. So what were they trying to acknowledge, put forth to make you think, I will do no wrong? Okay? And then they went to the most simplest thing right after that, right? They went to the most simplest thing, I will not steal. And you'd be like, wow, why did they pick that? Why did they pick that? So maybe we should go back and figure that these 42 laws did not manifest itself right off the bat. It was during that journey their ancient ancestors did, following the Happy River as it went through. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of years. And in that time frame, cities, gnomes produced themselves, of the townships and all that. It started out with two people, and then a group of people said, oh, well, now Happy's going a little bit further. We're going to go investigate that. And they moved off, but they kept the connection. And that's how you're doing every day in your life. It doesn't mean that because you did not follow the 42 laws to the exact nature that you did anything wrong. It is a work in progress in life. And as Abu Kepper was also stating, have fun, learn to laugh. I get into they can tell you I have a childlike nature, but that childlike nature helps me to cultivate myself. And when the time, like now, to come forth and speak, I can come out the mature, the one that can help you get to that goal. So I tell everyone, if you want to walk this legacy or practice it, like he said before, you have those rituals, you have those prayers, you have those things, but learn how to category the things, because you want to be of my eye is a first eye awakening. You know, the Greeks say the third. I always said the first eye, because the reason why I said the first eye, you have your physical two eyes, but this one's supposed to sit above that. And if you ever notice things, I'm going to give you a story. I was helping my mother out. She wanted something to eat. I went to the store. There was a gentleman sitting on a thing, and as I passed him by, he says, brother, can you do you have $2? And I looked him up and down. I was like, man, the myself said, "This bum, you know, well, you could be out here doing something else," and I walked away. But the me, the baby, the infancy in me was wondering why was he there? You know, all those things. Long story short, I remember in Tepi Jabari said, sometimes you're going to see something. It's not how I perceive it, but if you have it, give it. Reciprocity, I'm going to get it back. So when I returned, I had the $2, and he was up there scratching off scratch offs. That's what he was. And I said, well, maybe he's going to take that $2, go in there and buy a lottery ticket. Who says that scratch off might not produce something $5,000, $10,000, $50, and he can go on, and that was his means of getting off that street corner. Can you follow the analogy I'm putting forth here? So you never know. You never know. So as myself didn't want to do it, but me, the child, the curiosity that took over, and it helped me to look at the matter a little differently. Don't look at it as I might perceive it with my first eye, because I was saying, if I was blind and only heard him, if I was blind and only heard him, I would have to see with my ears. And sometimes that's what we have to do. Look at Stevie Wonder. He does not see, but he sees better than most people with 2 physical eyes. And you can say the same of someone that you have met that is deaf. They hear better because the senses have changed. So these are some of the things that we say that you're trying to cultivate in your everyday lives as you're walking forward. How to do this. Look at each one of those 42 laws. Look at it, analyze it. Why did they come about that? How did they come into this order that they come? Just think about it. Because all those things is building on the foundation of a society. It was not just themselves. They realized that as these 42 laws, as you speak them, they were talking about a society, a foundation to a community, a village, a township. That's how this goes. And your first township or village is self. So I hope that today's Sabai lesson and a few words of insight of how to go about it helps awaken, because you're on this journey not only to self-cultivate, but awaken that first eye that will help you to see with your ears and hear with your eyes, to not just do what is right there, the physical plane, to take it a little bit further. You know, and I'm telling you, it's a journey. And do not think you don't get into mistakes and trouble. I had two of my it's two Abu right here, Abu to Wasser, you know, when wet that on a museum tour pulled me to the side. And they talk, and now me, I'm going to tell you, me was like, myself, like, what you talking about? Myself, I just want them to know today that myself heard you. Myself heard you, and here's I coming forth. Ashe? I was going to stick my tongue out, but anyway, but this is that you see that child. This is what we're talking about. Allow yourself to do these things, and you'll have a long, blessed life. Long, blessed life. Ashe?
Ashe. Okay, well, Uncle Ma, thank you. Dua to Abu Kepra and Dua to Abu Ames. My name is Abu Wasret, Uncle Ma, everybody. I would like to mention how important it is to live in my art and to continue to work on oneself, especially if you are a person in a position of power. Whether the person is a spiritual leader, an elder, a parent, or a well-intentioned family member, we need to always check ourselves and make sure the advice or instructions that we are giving are rooted in the 42 laws of Ma'at and not rooted in our personal opinions. Too many times there are instances where opinions and judgments are forced on others as if it is sacred spiritual law. When this happens, the rights of others as human beings are often violated, and many of the 42 laws of Ma'at are broken. For example, in parts of Nigeria, there are certain groups that believe that girls should not be educated and everyone should convert to Islam even by force. This belief has led to the kidnappings, rape, and murders of innocent people. Now, not every example has to be this extreme. It can be as simple as a well-meaning family member that violates the rights of other family members by dumping the food into the garbage just because the violator has a different opinion on what should be eaten. This example didn't lead to death and destruction, but it did lead to the violation of I will not cause pain, I will not cause the shedding of tears, I will not be an aggressor, I will not waste food, and I will not initiate a quarrel. I am a firm believer that there are many pathways to the neter. If what others are doing is not physically, emotionally, or mentally causing pain, if their behaviors are not impeding on the rights of others to live in my art and be free, I say live and let live.
Dua, Nana. You know, I had wanted to add, say something too, if you don't mind, something that Abu Wasiret was talking about. You know, like when she talked about people who are in positions of leadership, people who have titles, people who are in authority. And I want to read something, and this is right from the Husia. And this is from the Book of Declarations of Virtues. And you know, I just wanted this segue right into what you said, Abu Wasirat. And I don't want to stop any of the other priests from talking. But this particular piece is by Becca. He was a steward of the public granary. And Becca says, I was just and true and one without malice. For I placed neter in my heart and was quick in discerning his will. I have reached the city of those who dwell in eternity. I have done my art on earth. I have not injured others. I have neither been evil nor approved of anything evil or offensive. I have delighted in speaking my art, truth. For I knew well the reward that comes from doing this on earth, from the time of one's first act till the time one reaches the grave. Indeed, my sure defense shall be in speaking Ma'at, truth on the day when I reach the divine judges, those 42 assessors, when we go to give an account for how we led our life here on this earth. Those skillful interpreters, discoverers of all actions and chastisers of all offenses. I took pleasure in Ma'at righteousness, staying in Ma'at harmony with the laws of the hall of Ma'at. I have not oppressed the lowly nor done harm to those who honor neter. I have spent my life in the way of Ma'at righteousness, the sincerity and goodness which were in the heart of my father and mother. I returned through my love for them, and I never acted in any manner to dishonor them, even from the earliest days of my youth. Now check this. Though of great status, he was a person of great status, but he still had a humility and graciousness about him. He said, I have acted as one whose position was low. And I want to read this again. Though of great status, I have acted as one whose position was low. You know, I've acted with graciousness and humility. and I've not undermined anyone worthier than myself. You know, like our ancestors, you know, they study nature. And you know, it's a powerful thing when you look at a tree. You know, a tree shows humility in terms of a tree that grows fruit. Look at the fruit when the fruit are ripe on the tree. Case in point, an apple tree. You'll see the branches yield themselves down and lower itself to offer fruit to you. So, you know, in all you do, you know, stay strong, stay in my eye, but have a degree of graciousness in you, you know, as we practice my eye. And I think that's so important for us to do that as we move forward. So I just wanted to add that to what Abu Wassered had said.
Awesome. I'll definitely chime in. You know, dealing with Ma'at is the forefront of what we stand on here at the shrine of Ma'at, right? So it's only right that we understand, you know, what it means and how to use it in our everyday lives. I saw a question earlier on in the feed that spoke in reference to harmony, right? And how do we do this and be in harmony? Like, and they wanted to know specifically how that happened. You know, when you're speaking of harmony, you're speaking of synchronicity, right? Synchronicity. So that means that there's uh, there's a piece of energy that you're responsible for, and then there's a piece of energy that others or some other entity outside of yourself is responsible for, right? Ma'at helps you to be that mediator in between to make sense of it all, right? Ma'at deals with scales. So when you have one end of the spectrum, right, you're going to have another end of the spectrum. A lot of times, you know, due to religion and you know, the things that we take from religion, we like to play around in just one area that's really conducive for ourselves, makes ourselves looks good, buffs us up, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And we like to play around with energy, and we get about the other side, the contrary side, the opposing side that is always there, right? It's always there, no matter what, whether you're aware of it or not. And I think this is a key point here we need to take home is that, you know, when you were a kid and you were riding in the car with your mom, right, or your dad, um, or your parents, whatever household you were brought up in, and uh you come to a red light. The red light is there to stop you. Why? Because if you keep going, there are dangers. There are cars that are coming back and forth, right? Now, as a kid, you're just enjoying the ride, right? You're there, you're in your back seat, you're looking out the window, you're looking at other kids playing on the road, other cars going by. You're oblivious to the things that your parents have to deal with, right? To get you from point A to point Z safely, right? When you come into consciousness and you come into that awareness, right? Now you become aware of all those dangers. Now, did these dangers just pop up or were they always there? You see? So Ma'at is making you aware, right? When you delve into Ma'at, you're now aware of all the things that could possibly steer you off course, right? Put you in a dangerous situation, right? Or not put you in a space where you want to be. So it's up to you, right? To balance that out. You are Ma'at and Ma'at is you. And I think sometimes we separate that and we forget that we are it. Every energy in the universe is us. The good, the bad, the ugly, the highs, the lows, all of that is you. And we have to bring it together in a place to where it's conducive and it synchronizes with everyone else, right? Where it's not just something to where it's just you and exclusively this is your universe, but we all have to coexist, right? Yes, we are Kemetic. There are people who aren't. There are people who aren't and probably never will be. They will die doing whatever it is that they're doing, right? So how do we do what it is that we do, right? And be in Ma'at, synchronize it with what they're doing so that we can see the commonalities in each other, right? So that we all can ascend, right? So that's when we say harmony, that's what harmony is about. It's about finding, not always looking at what other people are doing and try to tear down what they're doing or say that we're different, but really to look at the similarities and realize that we're all trying to get to the same place, and success has many roads, right? We're
That's
all
right.
trying to get to the same place. And, you know, ultimately, I like to believe in my heart that innately, all people are good innately. We're all trying to find that that end road. But there are so many different variables and distractions that take us off course to where if we're not doing what someone else is doing, it may appear as if someone else is evil or even contrary to what we're doing. And this is what we need to, you know, deal with when we start to tap into the knowledge of Ma'at, because Ma'at exposes all of that. It gives us the information that you can find knowledge, what they say with the women in the grindstones, amongst the poorest. It can come from anywhere, right? So when you see that, it's like, wow, like, okay, you know, you might be actually who you're looking for, right? The person that you don't think knows anything might be the energy that you need to talk to. It might not be the most learned. It might be the person that actually knows nothing at all, and is coming into it with the eyes of a child, right? What our leader, he says that it's like being a baby with a chainsaw, is what Jabari says. He always says that, right? It's like baby chainsaws. We have to remain in that baby state to where we're curious enough to see what ancestors were doing, to learn from them, right? But also understand the magnitude and the danger as well. Ma'at is not all good. It's both, right? So understand that there are dangers as well that you will be aware of, that you must make sense of. You must render it, and you're in control as to whether it overtakes you or you're able to make sense of it all and make it mesh together, right? So, you know, as far as utilizing, putting into your everyday life, don't try to erase your past. Embrace it, learn from it, take the lessons, not losses, they're lessons, and utilize that to propel you forward. All great light was born in darkness. All great light was born in darkness, and darkness carries light. So make sense of it all and utilize Ma'at to balance it all out. Next, what we're going to do is, are there any other priests or priestesses that want to speak?
I want to say to enter. I just want to end with what you talked about. First, I want to give honor, because, you know, before I say anything, I want to say to enter, to the nectar, to the divine force in me, the divine force in you. I never want to open my mouth without giving gratitude, and also to our ancestors. I give honor, I give praise, I give thanks to everything that you have given to us. You have left with us, in us, and through us. And then I want to say, to my Winwet, I honor you, I admire you. I am so inspired by being on this platform with you. And I just want to talk about balance. I want to talk about truth first. Your truth, my truth, and the truth.
Yes.
Okay? Because there's always the truth. Like you said, it's always there. It's always present. But where are we in our consciousness unless we align with it? And that's all I want to say. You have to align with it. And alignment takes time. You get a new car, you got to take it in for an alignment. It might be new, but it still needs to be aligned to make sure it's going in the right direction. It's following with your head, your heart, and your body. And we are the Ankh. You know, I was upset because I left my Ankh last week. The wet wind, and I didn't have my aunt. I screamed. Ah! I forgot my Ankh. Ah! Literally, I'm screaming like this. And then I stopped. And I said, I am the Ankh. This is just a representation and a symbol, so that as I go out, I can represent my legacy. But I am my Ankh, just as we are. We are the temples. We are divine. And when we come from that place, there is nothing, no one, or anything that can stop us from doing what we have come here to do. I want to say that. I want to say that intention, affirmation, purpose, alignment, balance, truth, justice, reciprocity, all of those things work together for the good. All of those things. You can't take out one. You know, it's like making a cake. Once you make that cake, you can't take it out. You can't take any ingredient out. So you better put all the right things in. So Ma'at is a conglomeration of everything that the cosmos is. And we are that. Isn't that fabulous? When you think about that, it's like you just put on everything and it's here, and you go out and it's nothing that can stop you. Not except you. And you talked about we still in our minds, chained in our minds, you know, self-made prisons, worrying about what somebody gonna think, say, or do. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I say, look down at your feet. Wherever they are, that's where you're supposed to be. It's progress. It's not perfection. We do it a day at a time. We do it an hour at a time, but we do it collectively and communally. You can't do this by yourself. That's another thing. You can't do this by yourself. You can have your altar, your incense, your baths. You can do all your prayer work, but if you're not in communal with others, guess what? You out there in the cosmos somewhere. So as African people, we are communal. We come together. We support one another. We honor our successes, and we help and we nurture each other when we are at our lowest. There are no failures. It's just that, okay, that can work out. Okay, next. Okay. We want to think about things as just being another stepping stone. And my aunt helps us. My aunt gives us everything, but we have to be willing and we have to do our own work. And we are here at the Shrine of my aunt as Himnetes, which are servants. And that's all we are. We are servants. We are not big eyes, little U's. We are just, and most of all, we're trying to keep our life in order. In all actuality, I didn't become a priest to really get your life in order. However, I'm willing to assist, but I gotta keep me in order.
That's right.
When I go before those scales, I want them to say, okay, you live well. So every day it's and I'm not gonna say struggle. It's an honor. It's an opportunity. Because the minute you say struggle, you make it hard. It's already enough out there. So words have power. And I could go on and on, which I will at another point. But I just want to say to Anter, to all of you, to Anter, I give thanks. And Abu Jamar.
Well, let's chime in here real quick to this person called Negro History. I see he keeps popping up the oranges of Kemetic deities and not the other way around. I see you elaborating on the word God, and we know that is Germanic. And yes, matter of fact, the Greeks had another word. So right now we are just focusing on a principle. We will have more Sabai lessons where we can get into the language and break down of the things that you're pointing at. Right today, we're just focusing on Ma'at. And so that is where we're going. Most people who are in this platform, most of us who have studied, we know that that the Kemetic people and our ancient African ancestors did not look at the thing word God in the way it is perceived in the Western study, in the primary three: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But we will, as we progress on these Sabai lessons, and you will see more of us of the Wunwet coming on board, we will elaborate on language and interpretation. But today's lesson was on Ma'at. So thank you for chiming in, but this is what is going on today. And I am one of the elders in the shrine. And, just asking you to, bear with us. This is all a learning process, brother. Or it might be a sister, I don't know. So, okay. Go forth, anyone else would care to speak.
Yes, absolutely. And just to chime in on what he was saying, this is actually a demonstration of Ma'at, right? Like let's put it this way: if you were a 12th grader, right, you wouldn't go into the first grade classroom and say, 1 minus 2 is not 0; it's -1. You wouldn't do that, right? Because you have a little bit more information than the first grade class, right? So the teacher, right, or the person who wants to teach would have to utilize Ma'at in that situation and say, hey, we have to meet this class where they're at, right? It doesn't mean that we're not going to teach the first graders eventually that 1 minus 2 is -1. It's just that we're at a certain level and we have to meet them where they're at. So it's not that they will never be taught, just to answer the person's questions in there. It's just that there's a time for everything. And Ma'at helps you to balance when is the right time, to speak in that manner. Right now, we're just speaking on Ma'at. So we're going to allow another priest that wanted to speak. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. Uncle family. I just wanted to come out of the Hosea and to deal with my, and it says here, it is interesting and important to note that Ra creates the universe through Ma'at, a term with multiple meanings: righteousness, truth, justice, order, harmony, rightness, evenness, levelness, etc. Its important lies in the fact that it is a divine concept, power, and practice which not only informed and aided Ra's action, but was established as the fundamental concept, power, and practice for the organization, maintenance, and development of human society. Also, thus, in each book, Ma is a central concern and focus, whether as truth, justice, righteousness, order, or harmony. And then
What page was that? What page? What page?
sorry,
Tell me what page you read from.
that's page 4 of the Hosea. Okay,
Which one? What page?
page 4 of the Hosea,
Yeah, page 4. Okay.
and that's dealing with the book of knowing the creation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then go further on, and you can look further, and you can go to page number, excuse me, page number 34, which it says here, the success is in truth a loss. Though you are greedy, it yields you nothing. Though you steal, you do not benefit by it. Act, act righteously for the divine of righteousness, whose righteousness is a righteousness indeed. When goodness is good, it is truly good. Surely righteousness is for eternity. It goes to the grave with those who do it. When they are buried in earth and the earth envelopes them, their name is not erased from the face of the earth. They are remembered because of their goodness. For thus is a principle established by the word of the divine. Speak right and do right, for righteousness is mighty. It is right, it is a great, it is endures, its worth is real, and it leads one to its blessedness. So like I always look at this word as the fact that when goodness is good, it is surely good. And the fact that being righteous and understanding who we are and understanding that Ma'at was the creation from the fact that when Ra was developing and everything came from the fact that Ma'at was here and the fact that as we go on and exist, we exist in Ma'at and we have to come back to understanding from whence we came from and who are the deities or the Netaru that have given us the energies to go forth and do what is necessary. So I say to the fact, the understanding of the fact of what Ma'at, if you go back to the fact of Ma'at, it says that the balancing of the lands lies in Ma'at. So as we seek Ma'at, we balance the land and balance ourselves because we become out of order. Isfet is there, and like we said, we might be dealing with someone that might be confused or in the step that the fact that saying this and that, that's okay. But understand that we're here to balance things out. So understand we're here to Saruj Ma'at, balance that what Abu Kepra was talking about, and Abu Wasaret and Abu Amis have been talking about. Ashe. Ashe, Duanetta.
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 Duanter.
I want to ask you, Abu
Wow.
Jamal. I want to ask you, Abu Jamal, because I know you're moderating things right now. And I don't know if any other priest or priestess wants to say something. But in closing, once everybody's finished, I just want to read one piece from the Hosea. Unless somebody else has something to contribute.
Go forth.
All right.
Before 1 second. Before we go forward, I do want to make the announcements.
Yeah.
We do have a weekend going on October the 1st and October the 2nd. I don't know if everyone knows, but we are opening up our new shrine in Phoenix, Arizona. And that weekend, Jabari will be doing a jamboree weekend. So all of you who are in the surrounding areas or have the ability to travel to Phoenix, Arizona, that weekend is going to be full of lectures and performances as well from some Kemetic artists as well as myself. and speakers as well. And some priests will be speaking from our shrine. So definitely take a look at that. The flyers are out there, and we'll be posting it again today. I'll be posting it again today too. I'll make sure that it gets posted again today on the Shrine of Ma'at page for those of you who need information for that. That's the only announcement that we have for today, so we can move on.
Fine, sir.
You know, I just want to say, Dua Netta to all the one wet. I'm grateful to be here, like Abu Mahert said, to be on this platform with all of you. Abu Jamar, Abu Mahert, Abu Waseret, Abu Ames, and Abu Waziri Vernon. I'm grateful. You know, I'm grateful for every word that each and every one of you said. You know, I had hoped Abu Sashat could have said a little something, because she made some very valid points earlier on in this week. But I think she's attending to a going away service for a dear friend of hers. But on this discussion of Ma'at, I want to close it up with this piece from the Husia. I think is very proper, will be very befitting way to close out this Sabayid on Ma'at. And these words are from Nefer Seshem Ra. And I'm going to read from the Husia. This is page 95, and this is from the Book of Declarations of Virtues. And you know, before I read it, I just want to say, just remember, this is a living legacy. Stay the course and live in Ma'at. So I'm going to close with this piece by Nefer Seshem Ra. And then I believe I was given the duty to do the closing Amasu prayer. Nefer Seshem Ra says, and I think this is a beautiful example of how we can live our lives in Ma'at, pattern our lives after our ancestors. I have spoken truly and done right. I spoke justly and repeated that which was just. I seized the right moment so as to stand well with the people. I judged between two in such a way that would satisfy both of them. I rescued the weak from those who were stronger as much as was in my power. I gave bread to the hungry, clothes to the naked, and brought the boatless to dry land. I buried those who had no children and built a boat for those who were without one. I respected my father, pleased my mother, and raised my sisters and brothers. So something for you to read over and meditate on. And I just want to say, once again, du'a'u to all the one wet, and du'a'u to you, our viewers who joined in with us today, because I know there are a lot of different things you could have been doing today. So we're honored that you tuned in with us here for Kemetic Ascension. And I want to say, of course, du'a'u and terror. And I don't know, Brother Jamar, you have anything else to say, or do you want me to go right on with the closing prayer?
If all hearts are clear and minds are clear, we can move forward with the opening of the way.
Do the
closing prayer, right?
Yeah, the closing prayer, the Amasu prayer. And you know, most of you, I'm sure, know that this is one of the oldest prayers, if not the oldest prayer that our ancestors left for us to consider. And the prayer goes, Amasu Inpa Inter,
Amasu
Inpa Inter, Atua Ura, Maketi Pa Herura. And that translates as, give yourself to the One Most High, keep yourself daily for the One Most High, and do it tomorrow just as you did it today. Hetepu.
Hetepu.
So we hope you join in with us 2 weeks from now for Kemetic Ascension. And I'll leave it to Abu Jamar to close out everything.
I have Brother Kemetic lead us out with the opening of the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we did it. We did our closing.
Right. Okay, so that's it for today. The closing prayer, the Amasu prayer. That's it for today, Abu.
So everyone who came on today, thank you. Thank you for pulling up to the Ascension. As you know, we do this every other week. So we look forward to see you again on the next episode of Kemetic Ascension. Also, if you are looking to participate in the shrine, to join the shrine, to be a member of the shrine, feel free to contact any one of the priests or priestesses that you see on here, or you can also contact the shrineofma'at.org on the website. We also have classes, metaneta classes, all sorts of things in there, that can help your ascension. Many people ask different questions as different services that we provide. Those are some of the services that we do provide. Also, trips to Kemet, to Egypt as well, under the instruction of our leader Jabario Saze and Sister Nico Saze. Definitely tap in if you want to get involved with the Shrine of Ma'at. With all that being said, may the divine force in us degree the divine force in you manifest every heart's desire. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe, Abu.
Remember tap to all. Thank you all for coming.
Amen. Ra. Thank you for that. Similar tap to you too. Have a blessed day.
Similar tap.
Are we staying on, or are we just all leaving? Are we all staying on or leaving? I guess we're leaving. Okay.